Hello everyone, it's Shane Kanto, your Wasteland reviewer, and I'm here to review an anime, which I'm not the biggest fan of anime. My brother is like huge anime fan, and I watched this film that I'm about to review with him yesterday, and there are some I own a few anime, including this one. I'm actually a huge fan of this one, and I should probably tell you what it is. The Boy and the Beast, and this came out 2015, 2016, depending on where you live, I guess. And this film is about a young man who is taken into the beast world and raised as the apprentice of a warrior who's a large bear monkey type creature, and him dealing with that, and it goes some interesting places, and I'm gonna leave it at that. But I was I was very surprised that actually my biggest, most viewed video so far on my channel was for Your Name, which was another anime, which surprised the hell out of me. But hopefully this review will interest a lot of people as well, and you should definitely go check this film out, especially if you're into anime. And I'm starting to get a better sense of how the films are and the kind of things to expect from anime versus traditional American animation. And one of the big things that I notice about is the use of story and where stories go, because at least from my experiences so far, a lot of anime goes in some very strange directions in terms of the story, which is very unique and can also be a bit jarring. And I'll talk about that a little bit in this review. This was directed and written by Mamoru Hosoda, and the storytelling in this is fantastic. It's really well drawn out and really well told, and it doesn't go about like beating you over the head with certain things, and it leaves some things open. But overall, I think it's done in a very interesting way, and also there's a couple of different animation styles. It goes into 3D animation a couple of times. Is the 3D animation on the same par in quality as the 2D animation? It is not. It does stick out a little bit in terms of actual technical standpoint, but I thought it was very well used in terms of telling the story and using it as a device throughout the film, and I admire that this film about with that. And I think that even though it wasn't the highest quality of animation, I think it was still a good idea to inject that different form of animation into it to shake things up and show things in an interesting way, including the setup. The very beginning, this little prologue that we have is done in a really cool style, and I really like that. And I would have liked to see more of that throughout the rest of the film, but it did a nice job of setting up the film. In terms of pacing, there are definitely parts in this film where it lags and just, and it's because there's certain parts that are bang 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 and then it's just lull. And it doesn't balance the pacing as well as you would like, but it doesn't take a whole lot away from the film because there are some super intense, exciting parts of this film. In terms of the tone need is a bit unbalanced because you feel a lot of this. You think that most of this film is this budding relationship between this young man and this beast that he's grown to connect this connection with, and it goes in a completely different, really, really dark place. And I was not expecting that, and it is a bit jarring. But once it gets into where it was supposed to be going at that point, I think it did a nice job of really engrossing in that tone, but it was a bit jarring transitioning in the middle of the film. And this is very tense, could be frightening at points, and very emotionally resonant and powerful, and I really liked that about this film, and that really stood out to me. In terms of the story, it's a very interesting story, and it shifts drastically, as I mentioned before, to something else in a different. It still stays connected well enough, which is a good thing, and once you get into it, you can see the seeds and where it was planted, where this might be going this way. But when you're going along in your journey, it's kind of a bit jarring. But it's a very interesting place that this film goes, and I admire it for being very unique and doing something very different. In terms of the dialogue, some of the dialogue could be a bit on the nose, and that could be the translation from Japanese to English. But in terms, just in general, some of the dialogue's a bit clunky, but some of it's also very intense and very meaningful and very potent in terms of the themes of trying to find your place in this world and making those connections and relationships that are there for you to feel wanted and for you to feel like you're part of something. And this film does a fantastic job of building on those, showing the good and what you should aspire to, and also showing the dark and what you should avoid. And the way they personify those things in this and bring them into like a physical form is actually really impressive. And in terms of the music by Masakatsu Takagi, the music's fantastic, intense. It really builds up this film. I really like that a lot, and I was very, very impressed by it. And the vocal performances overall, I really, really enjoyed. There are some parts where it's a bit over yelling everything, and I've actually noticed that about a lot of anime, so it might be a cultural difference for me, but overall, I really think this is a cool film. I think it's a cool fantasy, a cool, interesting story to be told, and some very cool visuals and intense scenes, and goes to a place that is very resonant. So, despite some chinks along the way in terms of different aspects about this film, I'm going to give The Boy and the Beast my recommendation and a B plus.